It was said that the cotton fields of Wilkinson County never slept, that even the wind seemed to hum with the sound of work. But on one moonless night in 1851, that hum died. A scream tore across the plantation, sharp as metal against bone. By dawn, the master's skull had been found beneath the cotton press, shattered, crushed flat as parchment. His blood soaked the raw wood, dripping into the earth like it was feeding. Eli was purchased like a broken tool. 8 cents, less than the price of a chicken's egg crate. The bill of sale described him as malformed but able. His back curved like a question mark, his head too large for his small shoulders. But his eyes, witnesses said, were strange. Always still, always watching. The master, Nathaniel Cobb, bought him out of amusement. Said he wanted a conversation piece. Eli slept in the shed behind the cotton press, where the heat swelled like a furnace and the walls whispered. At night, he would trace patterns in the dirt with his fingers, small, circular marks that the overseers thought were child's play. They weren't. Something beneath. The boy accused of the murder was no taller than a child. A dwarf, barely 13, bought for 8 cents at a roadside auction. No one remembered his real name. They called him Eli. The story the county told would fade, but what the soil remembered, what it kept, never did. The Cobb Plantation was a vast white skeleton of wealth. From a distance, it looked holy, whitewashed wood, high columns, hymns on Sunday. But beneath the hymns was rot. The overseers carried whips dipped in salt water. The slaves sang at night, not from hope, but to keep the ghosts quiet. Some said the fields were cursed long before Cobb's family bought them. They said the land was taken from a native tribe who buried their dead beneath the marsh, and that the marsh never forgot. In that soil, the cotton grew too fast, too pale, as if it wanted to choke the sun. Eli felt it too. He said the ground was breathing. The cotton press was an iron beast, tall, grinding, moaning underweight. The slaves feared it. 3 men had lost limbs in it. 1 was swallowed whole. But Eli worked there alone. Every evening, the press would thud and shudder, long after dark. The others heard him humming, a strange tune with no rhythm. Some said he talked to someone inside the press. When asked who, he only said, the one who was buried before the house. The master laughed it off. But his wife, Clara, began to hear the same tune in her sleep. Nathaniel Cobb was not just cruel. He was fascinated by deformity. He collected broken things, cracked mirrors, malformed skulls, and dead insects pinned to velvet. He kept Eli close, made him serve at dinner like a parlor trick. See what God can make, he'd say, smirking. But Clara began to avoid the boy. She claimed his reflection in mirrors didn't move when he did. The maids whispered that she found clay figures in her bed, small dolls with their heads crushed. Eli never denied it. He only said, he told me she would see. The plantation's chapel stood empty most nights, but on the last Sunday of June, the candles lit themselves. The slaves saw the glow through the windows, a red light, not the color of fire but of bleeding iron. Inside, Eli stood on the altar, staring at the cross. He's awake, he whispered. The one beneath the field. When Nathaniel found him there, he struck him across the face and dragged him back to the shed. That night, the press began to move on its own. Weeks later, Clara Cobb's journal was discovered behind a loose brick in the parlor. Her handwriting grew shaky as the pages turned. The boy knows things. He speaks of a child buried alive. He says the roots drink him still. Nathaniel will not listen. The field hums at night. It hums. The last entry read. He says he can press a man's soul the same way cotton is pressed, make it flat and quiet. I believe him. It rained that night. Thick, warm rain that smelled of copper. The workers said it stained their clothes red. The overseer claimed lightning struck the press barn, but no one saw the flash. Only the shadows moved. Eli was seen walking toward the press at midnight, carrying a candle made of animal fat. He never came out. But the machine began to thud again, slow, deliberate, heavy. Then silence. By morning, Nathaniel Cobb was missing. They found him inside the cotton press, or what was left of him. His skull was gone, flattened into the wooden slats. The sheriff wrote in his report. It was as if the press had closed itself around him. No one saw Eli again. Only his small footprints remained, ending at the press, vanishing beneath it. The county tried to bury the story. The Cobb family's wealth kept it quiet. They told outsiders the master died in an accident. But the slaves whispered that at night, They saw the boy's reflection in the press window. Some even heard him humming that same song, deep and distant, as if from underground. Clara Cobb was sent north to live with her sister. She never spoke again. After the incident, the cotton stopped growing. The soil turned black and slick, like oil. When they plowed it, the ground bled. Workers refused to touch it. Within a year, the plantation was abandoned. Locals began calling it the field that swallowed sound. Hunters claimed that when they stepped there, their ears rang, not from silence, but from pressure, like something pressing back. In 1893, the land was bought by the McCrae family. They built a schoolhouse on the old press site. Children began to vanish. The sheriff found small clay dolls buried under the floorboards, each one missing its head. When the teacher was asked who made them, she said, "A small boy, quiet, who never spoke." But no such child was ever enrolled. By 1910, the town had grown around the ruins. Every few decades, the same humming returned, heard near the old foundation. Historians dismissed it as superstition, but a local pastor recorded the sound on wax cylinder. When played backward, it was the Lord's Prayer, inverted. His wife went mad listening to it. She claimed the voice wasn't human. It was pressed flat, like it had no throat. During a drought in 1924, cotton began to grow again, only on that cursed patch of land. Pure white, unnaturally large. A farmer cut it open and found it wet inside, as if it were growing from flesh. When sent for testing, the lab described the fibers as organic, possibly dermal. The samples were destroyed. A letter found in 1941 from a local historian read, "I have seen the press. It's still there, beneath the soil, upright. Wood petrified, iron intact. There are markings on the base, circular, repeating. The same shape the boy drew. I think it was not murder. I think it was a ritual." The Baptist Diocese in Macon still holds sealed records from the Cobb Plantation, baptismal logs, confessions, and one forbidden text labeled Eli's Hymn. No one is allowed to read it. A priest who did was found dead a week later, his head crushed between the pew and the floor. His last words, "He's still pressing." In 1951, 100 years after the murder, the land caved in during a storm. Locals described a pit of black water, bubbling. A child's voice was heard singing from it, the same humming tune. The sheriff sealed the area with concrete. But cracks still form every spring, as if something underneath keeps moving, pressing upward. A photograph taken in 1937 shows the old field under a blood-red sunset. If you look closely, you can see a small figure near the press's shadow, a boy's shape, with arms too long and head too large. Experts claim it's a camera defect. But when the image is enlarged, the figure's mouth appears to be moving. In 1978, a researcher from Emory University unearthed what she believed was the press's remnants. Inside were fragments of bone, flat, thin, almost paper-like. Among them, a small skeleton, dwarf-sized. But the skull was missing. In its place, a lump of hardened cotton, shaped like a human head. She resigned a week later, citing auditory disturbances that wouldn't stop. Today, the Cobb Plantation no longer appears on modern maps. The area is fenced, patrolled by no one, owned by no name. But on some nights, when the air is heavy and the ground seems to breathe, locals say they can hear the rhythm again, slow, steady, metallic. The sound of the old cotton press turning. And beneath it, the faint voice of a boy humming, as the earth itself seems to flatten under the weight of what it once buried. "The past," he whispers, "is never gone. It's only pressed."